Thank you for the opportunity to present to the Select Committee on this bill. By way of background.
Good to see you, Barry. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to present. By way of background, I was Professor of Molecular Genetics at Massey University for 30 plus years, carrying out research and teaching in gene technology, and I've been closely involved in the regulatory framework, initially as a member of the Environmental Risk Management Authority, under which the current legislation was involved, and that was 30 plus years ago, but also recently as co-chair of the expert advice panel for the Royal Society on Gene Editing. And one of our outputs from that was a paper on the regulatory and legislative framework around gene editing, and it's very important to look at that. The current legislation and regulatory framework is simply not fit for purpose, developed 30 years ago, and if you look through the publication from that Royal Society Gene Panel, you will see there are many serious deficiencies that need to be addressed, and it's important to see those addressed in this bill. The current legislation is based on regulation of gene technologies rather than the outputs. And just want to emphasize, when it comes to medicines, we don't regulate on the basis of how they were made, but on the basis of safety and efficacy. And I would posit that we should do the same around the outputs from gene technology. I strongly support a regulatory system that has at its heart a risk assessment that is proportionate to the risks involved. And I would point you to the regulation of low-risk GME in New Zealand in laboratories. It's simply over-regulated, a huge compliance cost, and I would say quite unnecessary given the risks associated with that. So proportionality to risk, I think, is very, very important. I note the model, the bill is based on the Australian model, which has been in place for many years and has worked well. I think we have the opportunity here to improve on that and develop a system that takes into account the unique situation of Aotearoa, New Zealand. I support a regulatory system that is underpinned by robust scientific evidence, not opinion. It's absolutely important that the system is based on that sort of evidence. I think New Zealand's missing out on many business opportunities, and I would direct you to Nikki McDonald's wonderful article in 2022, the story of a young entrepreneur absolutely frustrated with the hurdles associated with trying to develop a new fermentation type technology in New Zealand. Well worthwhile reading. And just by way of some final general comments, I'd talk about trust building. While this is not directly addressed in the bill, I think it's really, really important that the public has trust in the institutions that administer these regulations, i.e. the EPA, MPI, and Food Standards Australia and New Zealand. If those agencies don't operate at the highest standard, then public confidence is undermined. And the other point I'd want to make is around ethics. This crops up all the time when I engage in public speaking around this topic. While not directly addressed in the bill, absolutely essential the regulator take ethics into account. So just to wrap up, I support this bill. I think it's an opportunity for New Zealand to go forward and build on what Australia established many years ago. Our current system is simply not fit for purpose.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your submission. We are on time, actually, so we don't have any time for questions. I'm sorry, but...
Oh, that's a shame there's no questions from that on that submission.
Yeah, especially when it comes down to the comparison that we're in line with the Australian system, when it's obviously we're not going to be having any deep look at gene ethics, whereas they've got gene ethics in Australia. They also have regional differences in Australia. You know that Tasmania is GM free, which we've established from the Bombay Hills up to Cape Reinga, which is maybe 40% of the country's population, certainly not the area. So they're picking and choosing the winners a little bit.
Yeah, no, it certainly does feel like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see who our next submitter is.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook